the news of the recent sighting of the Duchesne spread amongst the sailors of New England like a wildfire. Every seafarer knew the legend of the stricken vessel and its ill-fated crew. The tale dated back to the autumn of 1702, when the Royal Navy frigate Brenchley found the French brig Duchesne adrift off the coast of Nova Scotia. A party of 8, commanded by the third officer Edward Porter, was formed, and they traveled by skiff and boarded the vessel to investigate. Immediately, they were met by a gruesome sight. The deck and rails were completely covered with blood. As the search progressed, the team made their way toward the waist of the ship, where they encountered a truly horrific sight. The officers and men of the Duchesne had been crucified, nailed to the masts and the deck with boat spikes. A landsman became so overcome by the sight of the horrendous carnage that he crumpled to the deck. Porter outwardly maintained his composure, but inwardly the bloody scene shook him to his core. He commented in a soft whisper, saying, "This is no way for a sailor to die." As they continued with their search, they found the vessel to be completely seaworthy, as the ship's sails, riggings, and steerage were fully intact. Curiously, they could find no evidence of a struggle or that the vessel had been boarded. The investigators moved their search below decks. Shockingly, they found the lamps in the ship's galley were still lit. As they continued on into the kitchen, they discovered a pot of water boiling atop the ship's stove. Porter exclaimed, "How is this possible? The carnage on the deck must have occurred only hours ago." The third officer became completely unhinged by this discovery. He ordered the search to be abandoned. The party scrambled back aboard the launch, and they returned to the Brenchley with great haste. Once back aboard, Porter detailed the bloodbath to Captain Williams, who immediately ordered the derelict ship to be set ablaze and sunk. But the legend says that the Duchesne and its crew will rise from their watery graves, seeking vengeance upon the living who had wrought them such a merciless death. This tale was not new to the privateer Jack Fellows. He had heard the story many times from his mentor Captain Miles McShane. Jack was given temporary command of McShane's vessel Reprisal, and he was to sail the ship from its home base in Portland, Maine to Boston. As the ship made its way south, it encountered an unnatural fog bank just to the east of Hog Island. The fog glowed, and it pulsated as though it were alive. A strange white light materialized from inside the fog bank. Off the port quarter, a vessel appeared from the mist, moving windward. The ship was bathed in a strange greenish light. It was like moonlight, but much brighter. As the ship passed the Reprisal, Jack and the first officer observed no one was on deck. The ship seemed to sail itself. They could clearly make out the name Duchesne along the stern of the ship. The ghost ship, it would seem, had returned, just as the legend said, and it was headed toward the coast. Jack ordered his helmsman to steer a pursuit course. The first officer checked the chart, and he commented, "If she keeps her present course, it'll arrive in a tiny seaside village on the New Hampshire coast." Jack asked, "What is the name of the town?" The first officer replied, "It's called Tidewater."
Adriana Almusa was born in the exotic Middle Eastern city of Damascus in 1772. As the daughter of an important sheikh, she's been afforded the opportunity to travel across the world during her young lifetime. Having been born blind, she has subsequently developed her other senses of hearing, smell, and taste to extraordinary levels, and this has grown her into an agile and formidable fighter. Her broad travels have brought her to the United States, where she has made her way to the Shadowbrook region to investigate the claims of a ghost ship.
Harlow Morgan is an internationally known inventor, craftsman, and diplomat of the highest degree. During the War for Independence, he served as the United States ambassador to France and he headed the French Jacobean Society in Paris. He has met all the crowned heads of Europe and is often consulted by prime ministers from around the world seeking his advice regarding international affairs. Harlow is on his way to an international conference being held in New York. However, his coachman has informed him that they must make an unscheduled stop in Shadowbrook to repair a damaged wheel. During the layover, Harlow has learned of the rumors of the ghost ship, and he's offered to put his great intellect to task and uncover the mystery of this strange phenomena.
Jack was orphaned at the tender age of 2. He was adopted by a kindly sea captain who raised him as his own son. The old sailor taught Jack about ships and the sea, how to handle a blade, and how to command men under arms. Over the years, Jack has heard many tall tales of the sea, tales of pirate treasure, and ghosts, and mighty denizens of the deep. But Jack knows these stories are not fiction. He has seen a ghost ship with his own eyes, coming out from a fog bank and quickly disappearing as suddenly as it appeared. But Jack's greatest fear is of an ancient evil that lives in the blackest depths of the great abyss, the legendary Kraken, destroyer of ships and men alike.
Captain Roger Hawkins has served in the military most of his adult life. During the War of Independence, he distinguished himself during the critical battles at Brandywine, Monmouth, and Cowpens. Captain Hawkins is a man of reason and logic, and he believes that stories of ghost ships or spectral crews returning from watery graves have no basis in fact. He has traveled to the Shadowbrook region to inspect the area's coastal defenses, but if he can debunk the myth of the ghost ship along the way, then so be it.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Solo Gamers Club. To begin, I'd like to thank everyone that responded to my recent poll. It's the first time I've been eligible to issue a poll, and the results were very helpful. The final results were 40% A Touch of Evil, 30% Eldritch Horror, 15% Fortune and Glory, 10% War of the Ring, and 5% This War of Mine. In this playthrough, our heroes will be investigating the mysterious ghost ship with its crew of ghost pirates and led by the spooky ghost captain. This will be the first time that I'm playing against the ghost ship, so let's take a closer look at this villain and its special rules and advanced abilities. I'll bring up the ghost ship's villain card and put that on the screen. And we discover that the villain has 3 keywords: villain, ghost, and construct. It has a variable combat ability, which will be explained later on. And it starts out with 12 wounds. Now, as we're going to be playing with 4 characters, we're going to multiply that 12 by 4, and that's going to give us a starting wound value of 48. Its special rule is listed as Fog-Shrouded Waters. A shadow and a glimmer in the deep fog, the ghost ship appears off the rocky coast, a harbinger of death and despair to all those who strain to see it. Anytime a hero would fight the ghost ship outside of a showdown, they must instead fight the ghost captain. During a showdown, the ghost ship has a combat equal to the ghost captain's fight dice, using his Where's My Gold ability. The ghost ship requires the coast board to be in use. And he has several advanced abilities. The first one is Cursed Gold. Lair cards for the ghost ship always cost 3 investigation, regardless of the current Shadow Track stage. Rather than starting a showdown, each lair card leads to a piece of Cursed Gold from the pirate's treasure. While at the location listed on the lair card, a hero may pay the cost listed as an action to collect a Cursed Gold marker, and then discarding the lair card. For every piece of Cursed Gold the hero has, they gain +1 fight dice against the ghost ship. Their other ability is called Lost at Sea. A hero must have at least 1 piece of Cursed Gold to start a showdown with the ghost ship. A showdown may only be started at the icy waters space, and the cost to start the showdown is the lair cost of the current Shadow Track stage. And finally we have Ship of the Dead. Anytime the lost ship would appear, instead trigger the barrage event on the ghost ship minion chart. Anytime the mystery card Murder is played, also place the ghost captain in that space as well as a ghost pirates in 2 additional random locations. So it's obvious that the acquisition of the Cursed Gold is going to be paramount to us winning this game. It's going to give us not only the ability to start the showdown, but also will give us a +1 fight dice against the ghost ship when we finally get to that stage. So the Cursed Gold will be very important. Let's take a look at the ghost ship minion chart. We find that there's ghost pirates, minion, ghost, and horde. They have a fight dice of 4 with 2 wounds, and they will give us 5 investigation when we defeat them. And the notes on it say heroes must use spirit instead of combat during this fight. So when we're combating the ghost pirates, we're going to have heroes with a higher spirit value, so that's going to be important to us. It also says that at the start of each mystery phase, if a ghost pirate's at a corner location, we have to reveal the top card of that location deck and remove it from the game. If at any other namespace, reveal the top event card and remove it from the game. So these are removed from the game. They're not just put into a discard. They're out. So that's going to have a slowly deplete those corner locations of cards. Then we have the ghost captain himself, minion, ghost, and unique. And you'll notice that he has an octagonal counter, which specifies that he's a unique character. He has 5 fight dice, and victory against him, 2 investigation for each hit done to him. And his notes are unique. There's only 1 ghost captain. If he is already on the board when rolled, move him to a new location. Anytime you would be called on to place multiple copies of this minion at once, place ghost pirates in the excess instead, such as for the mystery card Tide of Darkness. It also says that only 1 fight round. For every hit done to the ghost captain, the hero gains 2 investigation. After any fight with the ghost captain, remove him from the board. Then he has his special ability, Where's My Gold? The ghost captain gains +2 fight dice against any hero with less than 3 cursed gold, or +3 fight dice if the shadow track is in the red. So that doubly reinforces our need to get that cursed gold in order to effectively combat him. And then finally you have Cannon Barrage, and that was referred to in the special rules of the ghost ship. It says, place the ghost ship in the icy water space and draw a random location to determine which space is attacked by the cannon barrage. If it is a corner location, discard the top D6 cards from the deck, then remove all cards in that discard pile from the game. Wow, that can really deplete those corner locations quickly. If it is not a corner location, do the same for the event deck and its discard pile instead. So we're not going to have the ability to be able to cycle through those discard piles like we would in a normal game. So that kind of moves this into a more speedy resolution. Rather than taking up too much time, those decks are going to be depleted. It also says any hero in that random location or at the icy waters also takes D3 hits, then remove the ghost ship from the board. All right. Now we'll take a closer look at our heroes. First one is Harlow Morgan, the inventor. He has an honor of 3, spirit 1, cunning 4, combat 1. His special abilities are genius, gains 1 investigation at the start of each of his hero turns. He also has invention. As an action, may discard any 2 of his items to take another item out of the discard pile. And finally, he has quick thinking. May pay 2 investigation to gain +1 fight dice until the end of the fight round. This may be used multiple times per fight. And he has 3 wound boxes. His upgrade is called Brilliant. It's going to gain him +1 cunning and a wound box. And it says you may now draw an event card when rolling a 1 or 6 for movement each turn. So that's a pretty good upgrade for Harlow Morgan. And incidentally, those hero upgrades can be brought in by paying 10 investigation and discarding 1 event card, and that allows them to level up and gain their individual upgrade cards. Next we have Captain Hawkins. He has a honor of 4 and a spirit of 2, cunning of 3, combat of 3. And he has as abilities Call to Arms. As an action, may pay 2 investigation to place a militia in any space on the board, limit 1 per space. This may be used if there are currently 4 or fewer militia markers on the board, limit once per turn. That's a pretty powerful ability. He also has Field Command. During his move phase, he may pay 1 investigation to move a militia marker to any other space on the board. If there is a minion there, you may discard the militia and roll a d6. On a roll of 3+, discard the minion as well and gain any of the minion's victory reward as though it were defeated in a fight. He has 3 wound boxes. And his special upgrade is Battlefield Command. He'll gain an extra wound box, and he will gain an additional +2 fight dice while in a space with a militia. So very powerful upgrade. And then we have Adriana, the Foreign Traveler. She has an honor of 4, spirit 3, cunning 3, and combat 3. So she's all above average in those skill levels. And her abilities include blind. She may not use a book or map item. She also has fast strike. During a fight, roll fight dice and resolve any hits before the opponents get to fight back. So that's a pretty powerful ability. She also has enhanced senses. Pay 1 less investigation to look at the secrets of a town elder, minimum of 1. Also, may pay 2 investigation during a fight to force an opponent to re-roll 1 of their fight dice. This may be used multiple times per fight. She has 3 wound boxes. Her upgrade is called Blind Fury, and she's going to gain +1 spirit and a wound box. And also, this will allow her to, before rolling any fight dice during a fight round, she can guess how many hits she will get. If she's correct, she'll do 2 extra hits. So that one's a little sketchy, so it's not a very direct special ability on the upgrade, but it will give her +1 spirit and a wound box, so that would make it worthwhile. And finally we have Jack Fellows. He's a privateer. He has an honor of 4, spirit 3, cunning 3, and combat 3. His special ability includes Duelist. Once per fight round, he may re-roll all of his missed 2 hit rolls. It's very powerful. And he has 3 wound boxes. His upgrade is called Swashbuckling. It's going to earn him +1 honor and +1 combat. And it says during a fight, you may cancel any number of your own hits just rolled to cancel that many enemy hits. So that's a very good defensive capability for him. And lastly, we'll go over the rules that we're going to be using during the game. All the regular rules will be in play, of course. And in the solo play, we're going to be using the Master Hunter level of difficulty, which means that we'll be using the Cooperative Shadow Track and the Advanced Cooperative Mystery Phase Chart. And in addition, we'll be using a few optional rules. One of them is going to be a modified version of the Endurance of Evil optional rule. And basically what this is going to mean is in this game we're going to award the villain +1 wound marker or health box every time he kills a town elder or KOs a hero. And I like this rule because this kind of puts the fire under the feet of the heroes, wherein as they don't want to allow themselves to get KO'd and give the villain a permanent +1 wound marker, which would make them all the more difficult to defeat. So that's going to be in play. And then also hunting for clues. We're going to use the new rules that are offered in the 10th anniversary edition, but we're also going to have it where if you'd like to collect more than one clue token or investigation token during a turn, you have to make a Spirit or Cunning 5+ test, and for each 5 or 6, that will allow the hero to collect one additional investigation from the space. And that will cover basically our setup, and we're ready to begin. I've determined that the first player is going to be Harlow Morgan. He'll be followed by Captain Hawkins, Adriana, and finally Jack Fellows. Based on the villain's capabilities, it's obvious we're going to need a good amount of investigation tokens. Number 1, to purchase the layer cards that will lead us to the Cursed Gold. And the Cursed Gold is obviously going to be required in order to start a showdown at the Icy Waters. So our characters are going to have to primarily start with trying to acquire investigation tokens. And we'll begin the round with the first player's hero turn, and that'll be Harlow Morgan, and he'll start with his move. So we're going to make a d6 roll for Harlow and see how many movement points he's going to be able to garner. Harlow has rolled a 4 for movement, and that will allow him enough movement points to reach the abandoned keep, the windmill, or the manor. And if we consult our reference sheet for Shadowbrook, we find out that the windmill and the abandoned keep focus on cunning as one of the primary traits. And you'll notice from Harlow Morgan's card that he has a 4 rated cunning. So I think we'll probably try to move him to either the abandoned keep or the windmill. And I think we'll try to get Harlow to the windmill. And Harlow has reached the windmill. He's used 4 movement points to get there. Next step is to fight any enemies in the space. There are none. We'll move on to his take actions step. Now those take actions that are listed on the card can be taken in any order. They don't have to be done in the order they're listed. You're able to take those in any order you wish. Some actions can be taken more than once per turn, others only once. Now Harlow has that genius ability, which is going to allow him to gain 1 investigation at the start of his turn. That's going to bump his up from his 2 points that he started with up to 3. And Harlow's going to take his Encounter the Space as his first action. That'll allow him to draw a card from the windmill deck. And Harlow discovers the card Torch. It's an item, fire. You may ignore the effects of the cards with keyword weather. Once per fight round, you may force an opponent to re-roll 1 of their fight dice against you. After each use, roll a d6. On a roll of 1 or 2, discard the torch. Okay, that's a good find for Harlow. We'll give that, add that to his inventory. And I think we're going to end Harlow's turn there, and we'll move on with Captain Hawkins. And Captain Hawkins is going to roll for his movement. And he rolled a 6, so that's going to give him 6 movement points. And if we consult the Shadowbrook map reference, we find out that one area focuses on both spirit, combat, and magic, and that's the Old Woods. Captain Hawkins has a value of 3 for combat, so I think we're going to try to move him to the Old Woods. Captain Hawkins has spent 5 movement points, and he's reached the Old Woods. Now he has a special ability called Call to Arms. As an action, may pay 2 investigation to place a militia in any space on the board, limit 1 per space. This may only be used if there are currently 4 or fewer militia markers on the board, limit once per turn. So I think we're going to do that. We'll have Captain Hawkins spend 2 of his investigation points, And that will allow him to place a militia token anywhere on the board, and he'll place that in his space at the Old Woods. That'll give him an extra wound box and a +1 to any combat that might result in that location. His next step would be to fight any enemies. There are none. He'll move on to his take actions step, and he's going to encounter a space. So we're going to have him draw a encounter card at the Old Woods. And that card is revealed to be attacked. Roll once on the villain's minion chart and work out the result. Okay, I'm glad that we placed that militia token with him. That might give him a little extra support. I'll bring up the Ghost Ship's minion chart on the screen, and we'll make a roll on that table. It says to roll on the villain minion chart and work out the result. So that means that it could be, although the card is titled attacked, it could also be an event. Otherwise it would state re-roll any event. So we're going to make a roll on that table. The result is a 4, and that means he's going to be attacked by the Ghost Captain. So as Captain Hawkins enters the Old Woods, the Ghost Captain materializes in front of him and says, "Where's my gold?" Now the Ghost Captain has a special ability where we only fight one fight round against him. And for every hit that we do to the Ghost Captain, the hero is going to gain 2 investigation. So we don't actually kill him as we would a normal minion. We're going to gain investigation. Now he's going to start with 5 fight dice to resolve the combat. He's also going to gain +2 fight dice because our hero does not have a minimum of 3 cursed gold. So until we can gain that cursed gold, this Ghost Captain is going to have that advantage over us in combat. So to resolve this combat, we'll look at Captain Hawkins' combat ability. He has a 3. That'll earn him 3 dice. He'll also gain an extra die from the militia that are present. It'll give him a total of 4 combat dice. And the Ghost Captain, he has a fight dice value of 5, and then he's also going to gain 2 dice because of our lack of the cursed gold. So he'll be rolling a total of 7 dice. And each die that results in a 5 or 6 will be a hit on the opponent. The dice are rolled, and we find out that the Ghost Captain has 1 hit on Captain Hawkins. So we're going to give Captain Hawkins a wound marker. Now Captain Hawkins and his militia ended up with 3 successes there. You have 3 6s. And that's going to earn them a total of 2 investigation for each of those hits. That's going to earn him a total of 6 investigation tokens. And then following that combat, the Ghost Captain will be removed from the board. He only fights 1 time. So that was actually a pretty successful encounter for Captain Hawkins. Now we have the choice of either placing that hit on the militia, which would remove them from the board, or we can place that on Captain Hawkins. And I think what I'm going to do is place that on the militia. We don't want to have Captain Hawkins getting wounded. That's going to be more expensive for him to heal. It costs 3 points to heal a wound, or 1 point at the doctor's office. So we'll place that hit against the militia. So that means that the Ghost Captain would have killed the militiamen, and Captain Hawkins survived the encounter with 6 investigation tokens. And now Captain Hawkins is going to purchase a layer card. And according to the Ghost Ship's villain card, he can purchase one for 3 investigation tokens. And that will lead him to the location of a piece of cursed gold. So we'll draw a layer card. He'll pay the 3 investigation. He'll get a layer card. And that will tell us that at Smuggler's Cove, he can find a piece of the cursed gold. Now normally heroes can, when you're playing cooperatively, only 1 layer card is allowed at a time. But in this case against the Ghost Ship, the special rules allow each of the heroes to have their own layer card, which leads them towards the gold. And that's going to complete Captain Hawkins' turn. We'll move on to Adriana the Foreign Traveler. And Adriana is going to roll a die, and that will determine her movement points. And she rolled a 1. That's going to entitle her to draw an event card. She's going to gain the event card called Autopsy, Event Science. Play as an action while at the doctor's office, and only if there is at least one town elder dead. Gain D6 investigation. Okay, now that card is an event card. That's going to go into a community pool of cards that any of the heroes will be able to use. If that were an item or a weapon, then that would be assigned to the individual that drew it. But if it's an event, that goes in a community pool and anyone can use those. Adriana has 1 movement point, and she's going to use that to move to the blacksmith. And at the blacksmith, she's going to encounter the space there. There were no enemies at that location. So she's going to use her first action to encounter the space. And at the blacksmith it reads, draw an event. So we're going to draw another event card for her. We'll see what that is. That card's listed as Aggressive Combat. Event Combat. Give any hero, minion, or villain +2 combat for 1 fight round. All right, we'll add that to the community pool of cards. Now also at the blacksmith, she's able to utilize the store there where she can buy town items. And while she's there, she's going to purchase a horse. That's going to give her +1 to her movement, and that's going to cost her 2 investigation tokens. And I think that will end Adriana's turn. We'll move on to Jack Fellows, the privateer. And now Jack Fellows will start his turn. He'll roll for movement. And Jack rolled a 4. And I think Jack is going to use those movement points. He's going to use 1 movement point to move to the blacksmith shop. I want to purchase some equipment for Jack. So he'll start his, there's no enemies there at the blacksmith, so he'll start his action phase by encountering the space. And that begins with a drawing of an event card. And the card says, you go first. It's an event card. Play this card when any hero, including yourself, takes 1 or more wounds in a fight. Prevent all those wounds and instead choose 1 ally that the hero must discard. All right, well, it's an event card, so we're going to add that to our community pile. And now Jack can also use the store as Adriana did, and I think he's going to purchase a horse. Jack is going to spend his 2 starting investigation to purchase Boreas, the horse, and that's going to give him a +1 movement, give him a little bit extra mobility. And mobility is very important when you're playing with the 2 expansion boards. Although we do have the ability to utilize the secret passages, there's lots of ground to cover when you've got 3 map boards. So it's a good idea to try to improve your transport if possible. And that's going to complete our hero portion of the turn. We'll move on to the mystery phase. In the mystery phase, that's the villain's opportunity to wreak havoc with the heroes. And the mystery phase begins with minions moving. If there were any minions on the board, they would move towards their objective locations. Step 2 is to the actual start of the mystery phase. Any cards or activations that would occur at the start of the mystery phase would occur now. Step 3 is any KO'd heroes would be revived. Step 4, the villain would heal. And step 5, we make a roll on the cooperative mystery phase chart. In that step, we're going to make a 2d6 roll and consult the advanced cooperative mystery phase chart to see what happens to us. The roll is an 11, and that reads Possessed by Madness. Every hero must immediately roll a d6 and add their honor. Whoever has the lowest result, roll if tied, must immediately engage in a single fight round with the hero that has the highest result, roll if tied. Each of these heroes gains 1 investigation for every hit they do to the other. Heroes may choose to roll fewer fight dice than they are normally allowed, but not fewer than their basic combat skill. All right, so one of the heroes is possessed by madness. And I've determined that Captain Hawkins rolled a 5, and that's the lowest roll. The highest roll was Adriana. She had a 10. So Captain Hawkins is going to be possessed by madness, and he's going to attack Adriana. Although the possessed by madness roll doesn't indicate that the person that is possessed by madness is supposed to move to the location of the hero they're attacking, I'm going to rule that it would make sense that in order to attack that person, you would have to move to their location. So even though that's not written in the Advanced Cooperative Mystery Phase chart text, we're going to make that ruling. So Captain Hawkins is going to move from the Old Woods to the blacksmith. And there, in his maddened state, he's going to confront Adriana. So we're going to resolve the combat of Captain Hawkins in his manic state attacking Adriana. And for every hit they do to an opponent, they're going to gain a investigation token. Now, Adriana has a special ability called Fast Strike. So she's able to resolve her hits before her opponent gets to fight back. So we'll do that. She has a combat value of 3, so she'll be able to roll 3 dice, and we're looking for 5s or 6s to produce hits. Adriana rolled a 3 and 2 2s, so she has scored no hits on Captain Hawkins. Captain Hawkins has a combat value of 3, so he'll be rolling 3 dice as well. He ended up rolling 1 6, so that's going to inflict a hit on Adriana, but Captain Hawkins will gain an investigation token for that. So following the combat, Captain Hawkins is awoken from his stupor back to reality, and he apologizes to Adriana for attacking her. He said he lost his mind, he didn't know what he was doing. So she's going to gain a wound. That'll be one of her 3 wound boxes will be filled, and he's going to gain a investigation token that will be his 4th. And our next step in the phase is to draw a mystery card. And that card is listed as Spread of Evil. Mystery. Roll once on the villain's minion chart and work out the result. If a minion is rolled, place that minion at 2 extra random locations as well. Alright, so we'll bring up the minion chart on the screen, and we're going to make a d6 roll and see what happens. The roll was a 6, and that's Cannon Barrage. It's an event. Place the ghost ship in the icy water space and draw a random location to determine which space is attacked by the cannon barrage. If it is a corner location, discard the top d6 cards from that deck and remove all cards in that discard pile from the game. If it is not a corner location, do the same for the event deck and discard pile instead. Any hero in that random location or at the icy waters also takes d3 hits, then remove the ghost ship from the board. So the ghost ship comes out of the fog bank at the icy waters, and it fires a cannon barrage at the marsh. There are no players currently at the marsh, so we're going to make a d6 roll, and we're going to discard that number of event cards from the event deck. The roll is a 1, so 1 card is going to be placed into the discard pile, and then all of the discards will be removed from the game. And that would be 1 card in the event discard pile, which is the top card from the event deck, and that is the Shocking Discovery event. So that's going to be permanently removed from the game. And the ghost ship is going to slip back into the mysterious fog bank. All that remains now is to move the first player marker. It'll move from Harlow Morgan to Captain Hawkins. And that completes the first turn, and we'll continue on with another hero turn. We'll start our new hero turn beginning with the first player, which is Captain Hawkins. Captain Hawkins has a layer card which indicates that piece of the pirate treasure is at Smuggler's Cove, so he's going to attempt to make his way to Smuggler's Cove. We'll make a roll for movement for Captain Hawkins, and he rolled a 6. So I think the easiest way for him to get to the Smuggler's Cove is using the secret passage at the abandoned keep. So I think we're going to move Captain Hawkins to the abandoned keep. Captain Hawkins spends 5 movement points and he reaches the abandoned keep. There are no enemies at the location, so he's able to start taking his actions. And he's going to begin by using his Call to Arms ability. And that will, for 2 investigation tokens, will allow him to place a militia token on any space in the board. So for 2 investigation tokens, he uses his Call to Arms and he places a militia token there, which will give him an extra wound box and +1 to any combat that might occur in that location. And now Captain Hawkins is going to encounter the space, so he's going to be drawing a card from the abandoned keep deck. And that card is revealed to be Devil in the Dark, Investigation. A flicker catches your eye and you hear rustling in the dark. Something is moving in the shadows. You are not alone down here. Make an Honor 5+ test. For every 5+ rolled, gain 2 investigation and remove a dread marker from the shadow track. For every die that did not roll a 5 or greater, you must take 1 wound or add a dread marker to the shadow track. Dread may only be chosen if using an epic villain. Okay, in this case we are not using the epic villain, so that will not apply. We'll make his Honor 5+ check. He has an Honor of 4. Captain Hawkins rolled a 6, 2 5s, and a 4. So he has a total of 3 successes. That'll earn him a total of 6 investigation tokens. And for his failure, he's going to have to take a wound token. Although Captain Hawkins is in the same space with the militia, I think we're going to leave the militia there this time, and he's going to take that 1 wound to himself personally. That'll boost Captain Hawkins up to a total of 8 investigation points. And also as a part of his turn, he's able to heal wounds. That's at a cost of 3 investigation per wound. So he's going to pay 3 investigation and heal that wound that he just received. And that's going to move him down to a total of 5 investigation tokens, and he is currently unwounded. That's going to complete his turn. And now we're going to move on to Adriana. She's currently at the blacksmith. We're going to roll for movement for Adriana. She does have the horse named Euros, which is going to add +1 to her move roll. She rolls a 2 that's modified to a 3. And she's going to use those 3 movement points to head towards the windmill. She arrives at the windmill and meets up with Harlow Morgan. And at the windmill, she's going to exercise her take action step, and she's going to encounter the space. So she's going to be drawing a windmill card, and we'll see what befalls her. And from out of the shadows, she meets up with the Hanging Shadow. It's a demon. It has 4 fight dice and 2 wound boxes. Its special conditions say that you may not escape and must use cunning to fight. If defeated, gain 5 investigation. Alright, Adriana has a cunning value of 3, but she also has a special ability called Fast Strike, and it reads, during a fight, roll fight dice and resolve any hits before opponents get to fight back. So theoretically, she could dispatch the Hanging Shadow before it would even have a chance to strike at her. So we're going to set up that combat, and she'll be using cunning for this fight. So she'll be rolling 3 fight dice. And unfortunately, she rolled very poorly. She has 2 3s and a 2, so all 3 of those miss. And now the Hanging Shadow will strike at her with 4 dice. Fortunately for Adriana, the Hanging Shadow rolled a 4, 2 2s, and a 1. So those are all misses, and we'll start a new fight round. She's unable to escape. Once again, she's going to use her Fast Strike, which will allow her to roll and resolve her hits before the opponent can strike back. This time she rolled a 6 and 2 4s, so she's got 1 hit, and 1 hit is going to be applied to the Hanging Shadow. Now the Hanging Shadow will roll his 4 fight dice. And that time, the Hanging Shadow rolled 2 6s, a 5, and a 4, inflicting 3 hits on Adriana, which is enough to KO her. So unfortunately, that KOs Adriana, and she is going to be taken back unconscious back to the town hall to recover. And that's going to complete her turn. Unfortunate event for Adriana. We'll continue on with Jack Fellows. Jack Fellows is at the blacksmith, and he's going to roll for movement. He has a horse, which will add +1 to his movement roll. And Jack rolls a 4 that's modified to a 5 for movement. Jack has no investigation tokens at the moment, so he would have probably liked to have gone to the manor and then in the next turn use the secret passage to the monastery, but he's going to move overland from the blacksmith to the crossroads. And he expends all 5 movement points and he moves to the crossroads. There are no enemies to fight at that location, so Jack will commence his actions. And he'll start out with a encounter the space. The crossroads is a dangerous location, and in that we roll a d6. On a result of 5 or greater, Jack will be able to draw an event card. However, on a roll of 1 or 2, he'll have to draw a mystery card. Jack rolled a 3, so that will entitle him to an event draw. Jack draws the event card, Hold Back the Darkness. It says play to add resolve token to any town elder, or play to cancel any single mystery card on a d6 roll of 3 or greater, or play at any time if the shadow track is in the red to immediately move the shadow track d3 steps away from darkness. That's a very valuable card. We'll add that to our community pool. And that's going to close out Jack Fellows' turn. We'll move on to Harlow Morgan at the windmill. And we'll begin Harlow Morgan's turn by using his Genius ability, in which that allows him to gain 1 investigation token at the start of each of his hero turns. And that's going to increase Harlow's investigation tokens to a total of 4. And now he's going to roll for movement. And Harlow rolls a 5. He's got 5 movement points. And Harlow's going to spend 3 movement points. He's going to return back to the blacksmith's office. There are no enemies at the blacksmith's office. And Harlow's going to take his actions. He'll start by encountering the space. He'll encounter the blacksmith. That'll entitle him to draw an event card. That card is revealed to be Ritual of Protection, Event Magic. Play during a fight round to make a Spirit or Cunning 4+ test. For every 4+ rolled, gain 2 investigation and prevent up to 1 wound to any town elder or hero, including yourself. Or play to cancel any mystery card that is keyword death. All right, that's a great card, and we're going to add that to our community pool of cards. Harlow is going to use the store capability at the blacksmith, and he's going to make a purchase. And he's going to buy an old map for 2 investigation tokens. It's listed as town, item, and map. It's going to give him a +1 to his honor, raising that from 3 to 4. And it also says instead of moving normally, discard old map to move to any space on the board. And with that action, we're going to end Harlow Morgan's turn. That'll complete the hero's turn, and we'll move on to the mystery phase. And now we're going to begin the dreaded mystery phase. The first step that we're able to act on is KO'd heroes are revived. So in this case, Adriana, which is currently at the town hall, and she's in a prone position, she gets to stand up, and all of her wound boxes are healed. Now we're going to make a roll on the cooperative mystery phase chart. I'll bring the chart up on the screen and we're going to roll 2d6. The result is 7, and that's Surge of Evil. Roll once on the villain's minion chart and work out the result. If it is a minion or the villain attacks, draw a random location for placement. Alright, we're going to bring the minion chart up on the screen and we're going to make a 1d6 roll versus that chart. The result is a 4, and that's the Ghost Captain. We'll draw a layer card and find out where the Ghost Captain will appear. And we find out that the Ghost Captain appears at the Old Woods. Our next step is to draw a mystery card. The card is revealed to be the Hour is Late mystery. At the start of each mystery phase, including this one, each hero gains 2 investigation and the shadow track moves 1 step closer to darkness. Remains in play. Well, that would be certainly a way for the heroes to gain some investigation tokens, but that is going to move down the shadow track. So we have a few cards that we can use to try to discard this card. We might end up doing that in the future. We're going to leave that card out on the table, and hopefully we'll remember to execute that at the start of each mystery phase. Our last step in the turn is to move the first player token. And that token will move from Captain Hawkins, and that will move to Adriana. And she will begin the next turn as the first player. That will conclude the mystery phase, and we'll move on to a new hero phase.